I love the seasons because I think of it like,
I like it.
in the winter, if you've been planting the seeds, when the tulips and the daffodils come up, I know that there's a new season of my life. And I need to go back to my vision board. I need to go back to my journaling, thinking, where have I let myself falter, or where can I find room for improvement? I love it when the fall comes and the leaves fall off the trees because I knew a new season's coming and I get to be a different, better, more improved version of myself.
This is CBS Spotlight, and we are back with Kim Luthy, partner, director of wealth planning at Synthesis Wealth. Welcome back to the show. It's abso-freaking-Luthy. Great to have you back with us today.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's crazy how those things that happen in life teach you so much. I mean, as a single mother, what were the lessons or strengths that you developed to continue to, I guess, show up in your life today during those tough times?
I think I learned, and this is what I tell women who I work with today, and I work with a lot of women who go through divorce or are suddenly alone or are alone by choice, that everything you need, well, some women are, everything you need and want is on the other side of fear. I didn't mind being a single mom. In fact, I found it sometimes easier than when I had a partner in the house. And if you're married, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you have a way of doing things. They have a way of doing things. And I just knew the way I left the room, it would be the same when I came back. If I had a mantra or a lesson I'm trying to teach my children, that I was the one that was driving those conversations. I was confident in my own integrity and things that I wanted them to learn, compassion and kindness. So, as a single parent, and especially in this business as a single parent, you can make your own schedule. You want to raise, you pick up the phone. I was very present. I was a class parent. I was the T-ball coach. I ran the snack stand. We did fundraisers with the kids, whatever, whatever the school was going on, I was involved in the assemblies, wouldn't miss one of those. And I would tell my clients that too. Listen, let's have this meeting a little bit earlier so that we can both be home to tuck our kids in bed. Does that make sense? Right? Rather than, because when I was first
That's
in the
awesome.
business before children, I would work all hours at any time, go see anybody anywhere. And then I think as a single parent, you know what it did for me? It kind of made me hyper focused on the hours that I was engaged in the industry, and then the hours to be present with my children. And it's not to say I didn't take calls, because actually you say, well, you had to. No, I get to. I get to go away on vacation and in the morning go down to a conference room or something and do a few emails and make a few calls. So I know I'm giving kind of mixed messages here, that I was present, but I also got to be in control of my calendar and my schedule, if that makes sense. So as a single mom, I think it's a great career for any women.
Yeah, you have to find that balance, right? And it's like you want to pay attention to both sides of the house there, but you kind of have to set your boundaries, right? And then make sure that whatever time you're setting alone is for that, right?
Boundaries. And then in the absence of boundaries, people are controlling you and your schedule. I remember when I first got in the business, and probably up until 10, 15 years ago, the phone rang, I would pick it up, right? If you want to talk to a client, I schedule everything now. Someone has a question, we schedule that. And not to say that I don't take a call. I mean, listen, we have these cell phones and we're available. And if someone calls me and I am away, I will send an email to my assistant. Can you call John or Mary and let them know that I'm away, but give them this answer, what have you. So, trying to still be present, as much as possible.
Right.
I have to say, you touched on something a couple of minutes ago that I struggle with, and I'm trying really hard to change my outlook, because you said when I'm on vacation, I get to go and answer a few emails in the morning. And I love what I do. And the more I do it, the more I enjoy it. And I'm at a place where like Sunday night comes around and I'm like, oh, tomorrow's just a work day. That's great. But I hear myself on vacation. Oh, I have to go answer a few emails. Oh, I have to make a couple of phone calls. That that mental shift to I get to, I think is huge. And it's something that I struggle with personally, and I'm trying really hard to change in my life. So I appreciated very much when you said that, and
Wonderful.
that hit home with me.
I'm lucky enough at this point in my life, I have a second home up at a lake community, and I go remote mostly through the summer, and we're up there year round. We're not just summer folks. And one of my girlfriends up there owns a CPA firm, and we talk about this in the morning sometimes. Let's say we get up and we play 9 holes of golf. Then we come back and we sit at the computer for 2 or 3 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll go out kayaking, and then we come back and we have late lunch or something like that, and we have a couple Zoom calls, and then we say, okay, 3:30, we're headed down to the club beach, and they got some live music, and I'll be back on 8 o'clock or 8:30 at night, just answering a couple quick emails or follow up. Let's say you have a couple meetings and you want to get your notes out, right, and your follow up emails. But yeah, I think maybe that's the balance you were talking about, Eric. I don't know if it's ever equal, but I think there are days where aren't we all in, like for 6, 7, 8 hours, you're on. And then there are other days where you kind of have a little bit lighter day. So yeah, I get to do this business and help people with the boundaries that I set.
Yeah, and I think it's weird, like it's a misconception when you say balance that it has to be like 50-50 all the time. Like it's not. It's like whatever's comfortable for you, whatever you decide is
Yeah, I stopped
the right
correcting
balance,
you
right?
about the
And healthy
balance
for
thing
you.
because I
So
wanted to say I don't really believe there's such thing as balance. Like I look at life, you look at like a pizza
yeah.
pie, and if you had it in 8 slices, that would be ideal if everybody had the same slice. But sometimes the time that you put into the community, or sometimes the time you put
Right.
into your finances, or your health, or your family,
Mm-hmm.
all those things, you have to lean in, right? Because if we're lucky enough that people are healthy around us right now, then we can focus more on our own selves and our own financial wellness and things like that. Or you set a goal, right? You want to run a marathon. Well, you're going to do more of your activities, health based than you are, community volunteer at that, this time. So I think it's trying to figure out what's this season providing me. What opportunities does this season of my life? So I'm going to go off a little bit on this. I love the seasons because I think of it like,
I
oh,
like it.
in the winter, if you've been planting the seeds, when the tulips and the daffodils come up, I know that there's a new season of my life. And I need to go back to my vision board. I need to go back to my journaling, thinking, where have I let myself falter, or where can I find room for improvement? I love it when the fall comes and the leaves fall off the trees because I knew a new season's coming, and I get to be a different, better, more improved version of myself. So I don't know. I just want to mention about balance and seasons. It's changed the season. And I am in a season of my life right
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
where I get to lean into the things that I love to do. I've done a lot of the work, although being a parent, your job is never done. But I've done a lot of the work, and my youngest is
Never.
graduating, and so I get to do a little more travel. I get to
Mm-hmm.
be more of a mentor for other young women and things of that nature, things like that. Host
That's
and
cool.
be more present for my nieces and nephews, right? Because I have a lot of them. I have a brother who has twin 2-year
Mm-hmm.
olds. He's 58. I have a
Oh wow. Oh my god.
yeah, we could go, but I
That's the whole
have a
story
brother
there.
with twin 10-year-olds and a 7-year-old. I have a sister who has a 14 and a 13-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
I am Aunt Kimmy, and I get to lean into them as well as be there for my young adult children.
Recognizing where you are in the ebbs and flows of life, and while everything's important, to your point,
Oh,
things shift, right? Like things, and you have to be able to recognize that, which I don't think most people do a
oh,
good job
please.
of, and I
Even
don't
with my son
certainly.
who's in
Um,
college and
Yeah.
graduating, and
And
I'm trying to spend as much time with these kids as possible. And they're like, "Mom, I know you want to be friends, but you're my mom, okay?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I have to know when.
yeah.
I can't text him as often as I
And
like.
now,
I can't
mom.
call him as often as I like. So I get it. My role is changing. That's a really tough role. I was listening to a YouTube video on this about women, and like, when a lot of your identity has been a single mom or a mom, and then I'm fortunate enough to have a career.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody works outside the home, and I think working inside the home is the hardest thing you've ever done. But I've been fortunate enough to have other ways to get out of the house, and work and, find my own identity. But it's tough deciding when to reach out and just making yourself available. I try and leave the decision. I said, I'd love to see you. Let me know when your schedule works for that. And if I leave it to just that, I don't know what. So I listen, we have a couple dates. Which one works best for you? That's all, and give them choices, right? Yeah.
So Kim, we talked, just about, kind of work-life balance, how you identify, in your life what is, maybe the most important thing at this time, the thing that your area of focus, whatever season you're in, as you put it. I'm curious how you see money and happiness kind of intersecting and how that philosophy kind of guides you in your client engagement process.
Well, I think it starts with your core values, understanding what they are. For me, mine is kindness, generosity, and growth, right? So if I can be kind and generous and I'm always growing, money doesn't really matter so much, right? Money doesn't create happiness. For me, money creates matter so much, right? Money doesn't create happiness for to be more present. When I tend to financial services industry, but money gives you choices. And that's what we all want. And I want to empower you to make good choices. So I think it's affected my career by when we do planning and financial planning and cash flow and so forth. I can create, let's start with the end in mind, right? And then you can work yourself backwards. There's a book called The One Thing, and actually is written by someone who lives in Austin, Texas, co-authored.
Oh,
And
really?
it talks about what's the one thing that I need to do right now that by doing so makes everything else either easier or unnecessary. So you want to have $1 million in 20 years from now. What's the one thing I need to do this year, this quarter, this month, this week, today, right now? All right, maybe
Mhm.
it's not make that impulse purchase, maybe it's make that systematic investment, right? You want to pay yourself first. So
Mm-hmm.
I think money really
Mm-hmm.
provides us with choices. I mean, it allows me to be more generous. I said to my husband, he said, "You gave that guy a $50 tip." I said, "Well, he was with us all day at the wedding. He did a great job. And I know that he's working hard for, the time that he spent there. I've been in his shoes. When I first
Mm-hmm.
got in this business, remember I talked about it takes about 5 years to be successful. Well, I was living on my own and I took a job waitressing. And I remember interviewing for the waitressing job. And the owner of the restaurant said, "Have you ever waitressed before?" I said, "No, but I know what it feels like to be treated well. And I think I can do that, you know, if you give me a chance." So, and again, back to you don't ask, you don't get. What's the worst thing someone's going to say to you? No.
Yep.
So I went out and I
Yeah.
just created like this ability that money enabled me to help with the family challenges, get those cleats, like I said, for the baseball game or the new uniform or what have you. I think money creates
Mm-hmm.
memories. That's where I'm at in my life. It's experiences and memories. I don't really give gifts so much. I
Absolutely.
give experiences. I want to get together with people and treat them to lunch or dinner. It could be coffee. It doesn't have to be extravagant. We don't have to be in the city somewhere. But when people, I look for friends who want to spend time together. And so we can do that hiking. We can do that hopping on a plane to Italy. We can, so I think your question was, what does money mean and how does that help with my clients and how does that intersect in my life? I think it allows me to be as generous as I love being. I just, I the more generous I am, the more filled my bucket feels.
I almost feel kind of weird asking this, but I guess can you share an example of persistence? I guess a moment when not really giving up completely, changed the trajectory of your life or even your career.
I I don't know how not to be persistent. I don't know if there's any other way than to be persistent. I think every moment that has happened for me has been a result of my persistence. I wish sometimes that I could learn to just be and be still, right? And I'm working on that. I'm still working on that. I'm headed off to Costa Rica for the second year in a row to a women's wellness retreat. Last year I went and I just said yes because in this new season of my life, I'm just saying yes.
Yeah.
Do you know when you're growing up, at least for me, right? Everyone would say, say yes, say yes. You're going to live life to the fullest. And then we got to a certain age, at least as women, where we learned that no was a complete sentence. So then I started saying, saying, no, I can't do that. Or if someone wanted to network with me, sure, you call me. Like, let them, right? That's another book, right? That you guys are familiar with.
Yeah.
Let them do that. And then let me then be responsive and so forth. So I think I can't even think of an example where I haven't been persistent. This is an interesting question. And so being still, when I go off for the second year to Costa Rica, when I said yes to that experience, I created a whole new subset of really wonderful women that are so supportive, allowed me to sit and be still and be reflective, to journal and come back kind of recharged and so forth. There are people in this world who, when life hits them from all angles, I say, like, you want to get on the couch and pull the covers over your head and just like cry it out, and I do that for about 5 minutes and then I go, snap out of it, Kim, let's go.
Yep.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. So if someone has told me no, that's just all the more reason to turn it into a yes and to say, no, I'm not going to accept that no. So I guess just persistence. I can't even think of an example. It's just who I am. I'm just persistent. That's my middle name. Yeah. What was it? Kim. Kim Possible.
Kim Possible.
Impossible, right?
Yep.
So, that's what they're like. You should be wearing, your superhuman outfit, with the big K.
That's fantastic.
It's impossible because I am persistent. Yes.
I love it.
Kim Possible TM, in case anybody's listening.
Oh yeah, trademark. That's right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
All right, Kim, since your persistence is now your middle name, I'm going to ask you it's a two-part question. Kind of two areas of focus. So after nearly 4 decades, I said nearly, not 4 decades complete, right? I'd love to know, what legacy do you hope to leave for your clients, but also for other women who are entering or thinking about entering the RIA or financial services space?
I hope they know that this is a wonderful career, that I've talked a lot over the last hour or so about being present for people and being in their lives and being a mama bear and being able to advocate for them. I want women to know that this is a great career to consider. It gives you options, and options are really awesome. I want people to believe in themselves. I want them to know that if it's meant to be, it's up to them to take responsibility. I don't want other people to think like, oh, it's someone else's fault. I know people who blame others, but you have to look at and take agency and and take responsibility for your own life. I want women to know that they deserve, and that if they've earned it, they should have a seat at the table. Right? That to seek not only other mentors, but leaders in their lives. Because I had a mentor or two that I can speak to. But what I really needed was a leader. And so it was through other women and relationships that through networking groups. And I talked about the one thing. I have a group of ladies that are women business owners that we kind of went out to that conference, that book. And they're all, they're just badass women. They're just, they don't take no for an answer. They're running businesses. Those are the people that you need to surround yourself by. And I think you should also be generous. I think it was Madeleine Albright said that there is a special place in hell for other women who don't help other women, right? So I am always trying to raise somebody up, whether personally or professionally, family members, cousins, sisters, nieces, and clients. male or female, honestly. I just want to help be an advocate for everybody. So I want them to be kind and to be generous with not only your knowledge, but your time, because people just need you to be still. I mean, you see it now, you hear these, you go into a meeting, don't take a call, don't put your phone on the table, keep it underneath in your purse, in your jacket, what have you, and be present. I think being present, people really respect that. I mean, that's why I like looking people eye to eye. Yes, we do, as we're doing this podcast over, the internet and Zoom, what have you. I almost insist that ultimately that we meet people eye to eye, because that's where I think relationships are built. So I want everyone to be able to share their unique perspectives and experiences, and to don't just be unapologetically you. When you bring your true authentic self to the table, you can not only be successful in life, but in relationships. I mean, and especially the relationships that you're developing with your family and your children. Do you know that you can change your DNA by the way you think for generations to come? So if you're putting out the positive energy, you're thinking positively, you're telling those that you love and the people that are around you, you can do and be anything that you want to be. That was actually one lesson. I grew up in the 70s, and when girl power was, and I remember my mom had a T-shirt that said, bought me, that says, "Anything boys can do, girls can do better." Now,
that was a commercial too, right?
Yeah. So
Back
I
in the
think
day.
I owned the
That was great.
T-shirt, right? I was a card carrying member, but anybody can do that, right? If you're a student of life. So I hope that I'm remembered in the industry for I don't know, my fun approach to things. I'm as transparent with clients about what's going on in my life as likely they are providing me with that trust and transparency on theirs. I will tell you that I've had challenges. I don't want you to think all of this came so easy and that I didn't have a few hiccups. I made mistakes. But then I said, okay, again, what is this trying to teach me? So I hope that my legacy is that I've shown that they see me as someone who's shown compassion and care and concern, and that has made them feel as special as they are, and that they should do it with a smile in their face and with some zest, a pep in their step. And if you're not having fun, whatever you're doing, with whomever you're doing it, stop. Just shift gears, find what brings you joy, right? Because happiness is temporary, joy has more permanency. So I hope I'm just remembered for bringing my best version of myself to the table as often as I can.
Well, thank you for joining us on another episode of CBS Spotlight. Kim Luthy's journey reminds us that resilience is built one choice at a time, and that leadership often grows out of life's most challenging moments. If today's conversation resonated with you, we invite you to continue exploring Kim's work, her webinars, and her insights on living with purpose. And also, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yeah.